Start out with the intersection of colors from the local departments.
Really? You're really going to do that?
Firefighters in uniform. Attention. Bring in the colors. reflect and give prayer unto what happened 18 years ago. At this time, John Morbito will sing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
We'll do the benediction. Invocation.
Let us pray. Oh God, 18 years ago, nobody could have anticipated that we would be here today. Nobody could have anticipated that every year into the untold future, we would gather here to remember those who died on that horrible day 18 years ago. In those 18 years, so much life has happened. There are some college freshmen who weren't even born this fateful day 18 years ago. But in those 18 years, so much death has happened as well. We have sent our soldiers to fight in foreign lands. Soldiers of other countries have fought in their own wars. Violence and death are not limited to our country. And in those 18 years, we have seen countless civilians killed within their own borders, often by their own fellow citizens. Well, God, 18 years ago, we prayed that something like the attacks on the World Trade Center, on the Pentagon, and on Flight 93 would never happen again. And yet it has, over and over. We see crime, hatred, terrorism, and war. And we wonder how the world came to this. And then we remember that hate has always been with us. That there has never been a time when there was not anger and frustration and violence and murder and war. This knowledge weighs on us, Holy God. And even as we ask, when will it ever end, we know the answer: never. Yet you call us not to despair. You have given us many messages of hope and courage. One such message comes from one of your saints, one of your wise sages, Mr. Rogers. Because he said, when I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. You will always find people seeking to build up when others destroy. You will always find people who heal when others injure. You will always find people caring for those left behind when others kill. You will always find helpers. That is what we remember here today, dear Lord. Not the acts of destruction and hatred, but the helpers. Helpers like Paul, who ran into the buildings that others were fleeing, all to make sure that they would come out safely. Indeed, look to the helpers. And so, Holy God, may we look to the helpers. And even more, may we be the helpers rather than the haters. May we be the builders rather than the destroyers. May we be the preservers of life rather than its killers. And may we commit ourselves to this helping, not just for another 18 years, but for all time. Amen.
At this time, Stephanie Parisi from the Paul Tegmeyer Committee will come up and make some presentations.
Good evening. I'm Stephanie Parisi, one of the 15 Paul Tegmeyer Memorial Committee members. Our committee members are volunteers year-round at this site. We created this memorial ourselves. We do all the maintenance here, and we keep it alive solely through your contributions. We have pavers available, as you can see on the walkway, and we have the forms over at the candle table if you're interested in getting one. We are not for profit through the IRS. We love our community and sincerely thank you for your support. We hope that you have made a difference in our lives because you guys are the best. Like, without you, we couldn't have done all this, so thank you so much. 2019 contributors and volunteers: the Tegmeyer family, Elizabeth O'Brien, all of the ceremony participants here tonight. The new Hyde Park Recreation Director, Robert Pollard, Anthony Arrico Jr., Bruce Stichter Sr., Brian Stichter, Robert Sweet, Sweet's Funeral Home, the Capolo family, Ray Milligan, Brandles Towing, Lee Miller, Dutchess County Sheriff's Employee Association, Bernie and Rochelle from Bear Memorials, Floyd Berger, Amber Banks, Carol Clearwater, Hyde Park Stop and Shop, Poughkeepsie Price Chopper, Hyde Park Florist and Gifts, the Flower Barn, and Girl Scouts Troop 10157, which is helping out today, handing out the candles and the flowers. Thank you very much. So tonight, the Tegmeyer Committee has something special. We're honoring the FDR President's varsity football team members and their assistant coach with an award for volunteering with us. They came here after a scrimmage game and only a few days before school started. They picked weeds, they cleaned up, they carried 80 bags of mulch to the proper areas, and then spread it all out. At this time, I would like to call up those team members. Colby Ackley. Thank you so much. Liam Halligan. John Kislak. James Lipsinski. Thank you. Gavin Mazav. Jack Morocco. And assistant coach Carl Schroeder. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, and we have Lucas Eckert. Thank you, Lucas. So we just wanted to say, Mrs. T, we love you. We're all thinking about you here tonight. And thank you again to everyone, and God bless you.
At this time, we will hear from the town supervisor, Aileen Ork.
Thank you, Craig. Good evening, everyone. It is wonderful to see so many Hyde Parkers here at the Paul Tegmeyer Memorial. It's wonderful this year and every year, and it seems like we have really a lovely high attendance tonight, so welcome to all those who came from other communities. We're happy to have you here to share in this remembrance. And I'm sure all of you join me in thanking the Paul Tegmeyer Committee for the loving care they provide to this memorial. Truly, it is an honor to be part of this beautiful ceremony honoring a Hyde Park hero who, along with thousands of his fellow Americans, lost his life on this tragic day. A true testament to the man and to those who knew and loved him. As we gather today and remember these victims of this horrific act of terrorism, we also gather to recognize and extend our appreciation to all the first responders, those who, like Paul, run towards danger and rather than away from it. To all the first responders here, and there's so many of you, the emergency medical personnel, our firefighters, and all the women and men in blue, and especially to their families who miss them on so many important occasions because they're out doing all the things that are required to keep us safe. We thank you and for your service to our community and to our country. We will never forget.
And now we will hear from Senator Sue Serino.
I want to say a special thank you to Stephanie Craig and the Paul Tegmeyer Committee for all that you do. And you know, it was pretty amazing coming during the week and you guys were talking about coming up here and having coffee. You know, like you really care so deeply about this memorial. And the Tegmeyer family, Kathy and Eric and Amanda, every year you're here. Thank you for Paul's sacrifice, his ultimate sacrifice, and for your inner strength to be here each and every year. For our first responders, fire, police, ambulance drivers, thank you so much for everything that you do. It's a crazy world we live in right now, but you know what? It's important for you to know that leadership has your back just like you have ours, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. And today, when you think about it, we saw the football team here, right? The guys that are here, and they did an amazing job. I have a certificate for them also. Thank you so much. But think about our high schoolers that were starting their senior year. Some of them are not even 18 years old. So we have to make this, it's our responsibility that 9/11 is not just a history lesson, that we tell the stories, we share those memories with everyone. And today I was watching the news, as most of us were, and I saw the Navy SEALs on. They were talking about when they got deployed to go after Osama bin Laden. And they were talking amongst themselves, and they said, you know what? We might not come back. And one of the guys said, you know what? It's not about us. It's about the single mom that dropped her child off to kindergarten that day and went to work at those twin towers. And the planes hit, and the fire was so intense, she jumped out of the building. And her last state of dignity, she held her skirt down. Like, we can all visualize that. That's just something that these stories, you know, we all tell them, and they all stay in our hearts. But most important, too, I think we all need to remember the day after 9/11. Remember how we were unified? It was all about kindness and respect. And we need to see more of that. You know, I was speaking about that this morning in Wappingers. And we really need to have active shows of kindness, whether it's today, tomorrow, a week, whatever we do. It's so important. And I just want to leave you with, you know, tomorrow is never promised, but we all need to make the best of today. God bless you, and thank you all for being here. Thank you.
Next speaker we will have is our county executive, Mark Molinaro. He's late, as usual. First, on behalf of the nearly 300,000 people who call this county home, to the Tegmeyer family, and to those who keep Paul's life front and center here in this community, we are exceptionally grateful. In so many ways, his legacy remains that all of you continue to contribute to the success of our community and to the safety of our neighbors. And as the senator mentioned, she and I were in Wappinger this morning. You know, the fact that it was 18 years ago, for many it seems like it was an eternity ago. But for so many others, it feels like it was just yesterday. But for countless Americans who did pause today of every age, the memory of September 11, 2001 may rest firmly in the backs of their brain. And it is right and appropriate for all of us to encourage that it rest in the forefront of our minds. Because it was on that day 18 years ago we saw what evil looked like. But in the moments and days that follow, we also recognized the humanity we shared, the love that we have for one another, and the fact that as Americans, we have more in common than that which divides us. Fast forward 18 years, and as was mentioned, there are still helpers among us. And the challenge for all of us, with that memory in our minds, with countless men and women across the globe protecting this country, with even more in fire and rescue and law enforcement sacrificing on behalf of us, it is right to give meaning to the loss of 18 years ago. And that meaning ought to be that we ourselves are the helpers. That we find some way to extend to one another kindness and compassion and love. And in 2019, it would seem appropriate that we would do better by extending even a fraction of the love that Paul and his colleagues had for their job, their task at hand, and the people they sought to save. That we might extend to one another kindness, compassion, and love. And let that be the legacy and what we remember and pass on to the generations that follow each and every year. God bless and thank you.
Our next speaker, I've known since the day he was born. I have watched him grow into a young man, follow his dreams, and was kind of like a son to me. In fact, I knew before he was born because I watched the anticipation in his parents. I don't know if it was fears or what, but Kathy, you have done a wonderful job. Everybody's proud. But I myself could not have been prouder to be invited to his graduation from the FDNY Academy and follow his dreams. I'd like to bring up Eric Tegmeyer.
I don't have too much to say. I just felt that after all these years, it's time to come up here and just say thank you. Thanks to everyone from the Tegmeyer Committee that put all this hard work in here, to everyone from the community that comes out and always remembers what's going on, what happened 18 years ago. There's still a lot of guys coming down with illness. Yesterday, there was a funeral for Michael Hume from Ladder Fort, whose remains were just identified 18 years later. And kind of hits hard at home. I couldn't imagine getting a phone call now saying that remains from my father were identified. So again, just wanted to say thank you. It means a lot. Appreciate everyone coming out here and keeping his memory and the memory of everyone else alive. Without you, it wouldn't be here. Thank you.
At this time, we will present the wreaths. The following wreaths will be presented: Milan Fire Department, Roosevelt Fire Department, Hyde Park Police, and the Tegmeyer Committee wreath. Every year we also, even though this is the 9/11 Tegmeyer site, it has grown to be more than that. People drive by and they want to know why the flags are at half staff. This year, 203 days since last September, these flags have been at half staff. The flags are dropped anytime an emergency responder in the state of New York passes away. With that being said, we've had 241 police officers and 200 firefighters in the state of New York that have passed away just because of 9/11 illnesses, not including some of our own here of other causes. At this time, we recognize past Chief Rick Morrison of the Staatsburg-Roosevelt Fire Department. We recognize past Chief Tim McCormick of the East Clinton Fire Department. Firefighter Louis Nazaro, Pleasant Valley Company 1. Firefighter George Hennessy, Pleasant Valley Company 1. Firefighter Caesar Amarello, the Hyde Park Fire Department. As you look to your left, you will see a line of emergency responders dressed in their blues. These people are fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers. They are cashiers at Cristiano's Pizza. They are CNAs at a local hospital. They are your kids' school bus drivers, a local body shop owner, but yet every one of them is your neighbor. These people have made a choice. They've made a choice to protect you, to care for you, and do whatever it takes to comfort you in your time of need. These are our local heroes. These are the first responders of today, and I would like to ask you right now to honor them with a round of applause. At this time, I turn it back over to Father Chuck again.
Let us pray. O God, you have called us to be the helpers. We ask you to send us into the world with the gifts necessary to fulfill this holy task. We ask you for the gifts of civility and charity so that we can treat others with respect and love. We ask for the gifts of faith and hope to strengthen our spirits for the years to come. We ask for the gifts of courage and compassion that will move us into action to help those in need wherever we find them. We ask for the gifts of humility and kindness so that we may put the needs and interests of others ahead of our own. We ask for the gifts of patience and perseverance to endure the long struggle for justice. And we ask all these things in the name of your undying and all-embracing love. Amen.
Amen.
At this time, John Revita will come up and we ask you to sing along with God Bless America.
Sing slowly. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
We ask that you take time to come up to the stone, mingle, do what Paul would do. You walk into a room and light it up and make sure he shook hands with everybody. So again, thank you for tonight. To my brothers and sisters on my right, again, thank you. The Armascots, thank you. Thank you for coming.